Was the Trojan War a real event or just a fantastic story from Homer's epic poem, the Iliad? For centuries, most scholars lean towards fiction. A 10-year war fought over a kidnapped queen, with gods meddling in human affairs and a giant wooden horse as the ultimate trick. It sounded more like a legend than history. The story was thrilling, full of heroes like Achilles and Hector, but it was largely believed to be a product of poetic imagination, a grand myth from ancient Greece with no basis in reality. Then, everything changed in the 19th century. A passionate amateur archaeologist named Heinrich Schliemann became obsessed with finding the lost city of Troy. He was convinced it was real and followed the geographical clues in the Iliad to a specific hill in modern-day Turkey called Hisarlik. Many professionals at the time thought he was on a fool's errand. But when Schliemann and his team began to dig, they didn't just find ruins. They found a whole stack of them. Imagine a layer cake of history. Hisarlik revealed at least 9 ancient cities built one on top of the other, spanning thousands of years. As they dug deeper, they uncovered different layers, each telling a story of a different era. One of these layers, now known as Troy VIIA, seemed to fit the timeline of the Trojan War, around the 12th century BC. And what they found in this layer was startling. The evidence pointed towards a city that had met a violent and fiery end. Archaeologists discovered widespread burn marks across the site, suggesting a massive fire had consumed the city. The fortified walls showed signs of collapse, not from an earthquake, but from a siege. Piles of slingstones, arrowheads, and even skeletons were found scattered in the streets, clear evidence of a desperate battle. It was as if the final, brutal scenes of the Iliad had been frozen in time, buried under layers of earth. The city hadn't just been abandoned. It had been violently destroyed. The archaeological evidence was compelling, but it wasn't the only piece of the puzzle. Around the same time, scholars were deciphering ancient tablets from the Hittite Empire, a major power in the region during that period. These records mentioned a powerful city in the west called Wilusa. Linguists quickly made the connection. Wilusa is incredibly similar to the early Greek name for Troy, which was Wilius. The Hittite texts even mention a treaty with a king of Wilusa named Alexandru, which sounds a lot like Alexandros, another name for the Trojan prince Paris, the one who supposedly started the war by abducting Helen. These texts painted a picture of a politically significant city that had conflicts with its neighbors, particularly the Achaeans, which is what Homer called the Greeks. Suddenly, the epic tale wasn't just a story anymore. It seemed to be a dramatized account of real geopolitical struggles. In the late Bronze Age, the fight over trade routes and regional power could very well have been the real Helen of Troy, the prize that launched 1,000 ships. So, what does this all mean? Did Achilles really sulk in his tent? Did Odysseus really come up with the Trojan horse? Probably not in the exact way Homer described. The Iliad is an epic poem, not a history textbook. It was passed down orally for generations before being written, with each storyteller adding a bit more drama and flair. The gods, the superhuman heroes, the poetic speeches, these were likely embellishments to make the story more memorable and entertaining. But at its core, the story of a great city named Troy, a long and devastating war with Greek invaders, and its eventual destruction, seems to be true. The Trojan War was likely a real historical event, a memory of a brutal conflict that was so significant it was preserved for centuries through oral tradition. Homer's genius was in taking the raw, historical memory of this war and weaving it into a timeless masterpiece about glory, rage, and the human condition. The story of Troy is a powerful reminder that myths and legends often have a kernel of truth. They're not just fantasies. They can be the vessels that carry history across the ages, especially when written records are lost. The Trojan War might not have happened exactly as the poets sang, but the fallen walls and scattered weapons at Hisarlik tell us that something epic and terrible did happen there. It shows how history can become a legend, louder and grander than life, but rooted in a very real past. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more historical mysteries. See you next time.